Dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope everybody is doing well and in good health. Today I'm talking about characteristics of the research, and as you know, in the last lecture we have learned all about the definition of the research and also the business research, and you have learned about the types of research and also the areas of research. And today we are talking about the characteristics of the research. So dear students, what is meant by characteristics? So very simple. Characteristics or the features, the qualities or the hallmarks of the good research. How you can make a research a good research. So dear students, there are many qualities or features, right? You can find out in internet, you can in different books or websites, but I have collected some of the most important in the common features of a good research. Okay, the first one we have is purposeful. It means a research should be purposeful, right? Or it must have a feature of purposiveness. So what is meant by this? Very simple. Generally, you should know there are four broader purposes of a research. If you try to conduct a research, right, or do a research, so you should know what approach of a research you should follow. You can select your purpose as in exploratory or descriptive or explanatory or predictive. Okay, I'm not explaining all these four approaches of research. Why? Because the only thing I'm just focusing here is the purposiveness. Have you know about the purposiveness feature? Okay, simply in the first one we try to explore, and here we try to describe something. Okay, so at the first and the second types or the purposes here, we gather information. We are not testing hypotheses, only we try to just talk and explore and describe things. Okay, simply. And the last two types, in the explanatory, here we try to explain the causal relationship, the cause and effect in this one, and here we are just predicting about future and predicting about the trend. So dear students, what you need to know here is that whatever approach you try to select, right, the purpose should be definite. This is, you should know about it. Okay, for example, if you try to select this approach of the study, right, exploratory, it means here your purpose should be definite, right, specific. For example, trends and prospects of Afghanistan economy. So this is your aim and this is your purpose. You try to explore about the trends and the prospects of Afghanistan economy. Have the economy, right? What are the future trends of the Afghanistan economy, and how you can predict the prospects of Afghanistan economy. So when you try to know all about the trends and the prospects of Afghanistan economy, right, then you're just conducted exploratory study here. Okay, so what I mean here, if you try to select this approach, so your aim, what you try to do, should be clear and definite. Okay, or if you try to select descriptive types or this approach of a research, so for example you try to describe how the commitment level of employees can be enhanced, right? So if you select, so look here, your aim should be clear as I've stated here. Or if you try to do a explanatory type of research where you try to know about the cause and effect, like for example customer satisfaction in sale, you try to measure whether the customer satisfaction can affect the sale or not, how the sale can be maximized, how can be affected by the customer satisfaction. So here is the causal relationship. You try to check the impact of one variable over another variable here. Okay, So that is done through the help of explanatory types of research. And lastly, here again we have some causal relationship. You try to know about the productivity in relation to employee satisfaction, right? And the last one we have stock price volatility. Here you try to predict how the stock price can be volatile and how the stock prices can be fluctuated, right? Or you can say you just try to predict the risk in a stock price. So dear students, whatever general purpose you try to select, whatever approach you try to select, you try to be definite. What is the aim? What you try to conduct? What you try to find out, or what problems you try to solve. So these are the examples I have just stated here, okay? And that is what we mean by purposiveness. It means your research, what you try to do is quite clear. Whatever approach you are using and what is the specific aim or the problem you try to solve, okay? Okay, next, dear students, we have the second feature, that is empirical. It means a research should be empirical. And what is meant by this? It means a research should be based on direct experience or observation. It shouldn't be just a theory or scientific knowledge. So dear students, many of the researches which is not having this feature, you cannot say that is an empirical. Empirical means it shouldn't be just a theory like what I have just explained here, okay? It means the researcher have conducted a research, right, and he was involved there in whatever the experiment he has gone through, right? So it was all empirical. It means it was not just a theory, it was just not a hypothesis, it was not a statement. So whatever you conclude all about is that should be empirical. It means the researcher by himself conducted each and everything, and he observed the variables, and he has conducted a survey and collected information and analyzed all the information, and he has done the experiment, and out of that he has concluded, right? So we say the research is empirical, right? Should be based on direct experience. There must be an experience or observation. It shouldn't be just a theory or a scientific knowledge. It means the knowledge already proven scientifically, and that is in the literature, and you are just stating all that knowledge. No, when you do a research, that should be empirical. You should be involved in, and you should do an experience, and you have to observe whatever you are just doing, okay? Okay, next we have is the logical feature of a research. So dear students, logical means based on valid procedures and principles, okay? It means whenever you try to conduct a research, so whatever conclusion, right, you are drawing, whatever conclusion you have come with, that should be guided by some procedures and principles, some guidelines, okay? That should be logical, okay? I'm just explaining what we mean by this logic here. First, the procedures and the principles, right, should be followed, or you have taken to your consideration in concluding about the result, all the procedures and the principles. In the logical reasoning, we have inductive and deductive reasoning. I'm just not explaining it here, but simply I'm just with an example explaining here. For example, we say A is equal to C and B is equal to C, right? So A is equal to B. So look, this is a logical conclusion. Why? Because if A equals C and B equals C, so obviously A must equal B. So now this logical conclusion you have derived on the basis of these premises. So one premise we have, one idea we have is A is equal to C. Assume in your research you have found two things, that A is equal to C, and you found that B is equal to C. Now on the basis of these findings, right, you're just concluding, on the basis of these premises or this data, you are concluding that A is equal to B. Now this conclusion is logical, as you can see here. Okay, another example of logical we have, for example, all humans are mortal, right? So you know that everybody will die. So all humans, every human will die. So all humans are mortal, and Muhammad is human. Muhammad is human, and so Muhammad is mortal. Yes, so look, this is a conclusion. So Muhammad is mortal. So dear students, I'm just asking you a question here. Is this conclusion logical? Of course yes. Why? Because this conclusion had been derived based on these two premises, right? And these two ideas. You can say this is your research findings, and these are the arguments you have, and based on these arguments you are just deriving this. Why? Because all humans are mortal and Muhammad is human, so obviously Muhammad is mortal. Why? Because it is stated here. So out of this these arguments, this conclusion is valid and logical. So that is what we mean by the logical. A research is a good research if it is logical. It means the conclusions in the finding, the results drawn, that is logical. Okay, I'm just giving you another example of a research which is with some findings or conclusions which are not logical. For example, look here. Paris is the capital of the France, right? Islamabad is the capital of Pakistan, so the Nangarhar is the capital of Afghanistan. So look, first these are the premises, and on the basis of these premises you have concluded about this result, right? But this conclusion is totally not logical. Why? Because how out of this information, right, out of this information you found, you were just concluding this, how? It's been quite not logical. If the Paris is the capital of France and if Islamabad is the capital of Pakistan, so they do not necessarily mean that the Nangarhar should be a capital of Afghanistan. So this conclusion is not logical. Is it clear? So another example we have, all pigs are purple in color. Okay, first this is not a correct argument. Why? Because half the pigs are purple, not purple in color. Anything that is purple is an animal. Against this argument is not true. Okay, when these arguments are not valid, or you can say these premises are not valid, then the conclusion derived may also be not logical. So you can say all pigs are animal. So dear students, look here. This conclusion, all pigs are animal, yes, you can say conclusion or the result you have drawn is true, but the premises and the basis you have concluded is not right, because again you say the logic used here is not real. Okay, because this information you have drawn, yes, it is real, but the logic is not real. Why? Because the premises and the basis you have drawn, this conclusion is not logical. Okay, why? Quite clear. Pigs are not purple in color, and also all purple is not animals, right? So that is why we say these are the examples of what? Not logical research. If a research is having conclusion like this, it's mean you can say that is not a logical conclusion. So that was all about logical. Now next we have cyclical. Okay, and next feature of a research is cyclical. What is cyclical? Start with a problem and end with a problem. Okay, dear students, I'm just explaining this within this diagram. Look here, we study the status quo. If you have a business and you found there is a problem, and what is the problem? A poor outcome, or you can say the productivity is not good and a low productivity. This is your current status quo. And now what you have read, you found or you study the current status quo, and then you identify the problem out of the given current circumstances or situation. You found what is the problem, why your productivity is low, right? And then you're just developing solution. It means you're just conducting a research, and then you implement the solution. The finding you have drawn, you implement it, right? When you implement, then you evaluate the solution. It means you found that how the productivity can be enhanced. Once again, I'm just repeating here. You found, you just analyze the current situation, and then you found a problem that in your business there is a low productivity, and then you have conducted a research that how the productivity can be enhanced, and you found the result that the employees, for example, the employee satisfaction can enhance the productivity. So you implemented. Have you implemented? So you try to make your employees happy, and you try to keep them satisfied. Okay, and then what happened? Yes, the productivity improved within that implementation, but still you try to evaluate the solution. Yes, again, this solution was not significant in its impact. Why? Because maybe still the productivity is not yet improved, and there is some adjustment needed. Again, you try to know why there is a difference, why still there is some room, some improvements, right? So you try to find out some adjustments. Again, you study the current situation. Again, you try to find out the problem. So dear students, what I mean by cyclical? Cyclical means once you try to identify the problem, and then you try to do a research, and then you find out the result in the finding and implement it. So it's mean it is not ended. Still there is some improvement needed. Still there is something missing. Still there is a room, and you try to make some adjustment, and again you try to improve that areas, and again you try to identify some other problems. It's mean by conducting one research, so the case is not yet finished. Again, there are some other questions, some other recommendations, some other gaps are found, right? And then you try to work on those gaps, and some additional research and additional work is conducted on that. So that is why it is called cyclical. That is called what? Cyclical. So it starts with the problem, and when your research is ended, again you see there is another gap, and you try to work on that, and you try to improve further. And when you find out that problem, and then again you see there are some other questions. Okay, so that is why it is called, it is a cyclical approach. Okay. Okay, next, dear students, we have replicability. So what is replicability? The results of the research produced should be supported again and again when the same type of research is conducted in other similar circumstances. So dear students, for example, you have conducted a research, right? And you found what? You found some results. Okay, you have come up with some findings, like here. You have conducted that employee satisfaction, right, can improve the productivity. What? Employee satisfaction can improve the productivity. Okay, you have conducted a research with a sample and with a specific procedures in the statistical tools and analysis and method, whatever. Okay, so but you found, ultimately you found that the employee satisfaction can increase the productivity. Now, how your research can be replicable, that if another organization with a different setting, right, again conduct a similar research within given similar circumstances, right? And again, within the same method, right, another organization with different setting is also finding out the same information you have found, so you say your research is replicable. Okay, once again, dear students, replicability, for example, you have found the result that the employee satisfaction can increase the productivity, right? Okay, so for example, another research is taking your tool, right, and your mechanism and your techniques, and try to do the same research in another country. A research done in America, and you try to do the same research here in Afghanistan, and now you found out, right, that your result and the result of the previous research, they are consistent. It means they are same, so you say the first research was replicable. So if your research is having the same quality, we say that your research is replicable. Why? Because whoever is implementing your research or your methods in another country with a different sample data, so the result is again same. So we say what? Replicable, or there is a feature of replicability. So the result of the research produced should be supported again and again when the same type of research is conducted in another similar circumstances. Okay, next, dear students, we have precision and confidence. And what is this? So this refers to how close the research finding are to the reality. Okay, dear students, sometimes the result may not be close to the reality. It means the reality is one thing, and something, your result is another thing. For example, here I'm just giving an example of stock price volatility. You found that the stock price volatility is 5%. 5% means there is 5% fluctuation predicted in the stock price. And if the actual, for example, is somehow between 1 and 10, right? 1%, if the actual is between 1% and 10%, right? So it means this is not precise, and this is not accurate result. Why? Because the actual is somehow between 1 and 10%, and your is 5%. So you say you have not come up with a precision, with a confidence of a correct and true output or result here. Okay, for example, if your if the actual is somehow between 4%, right, and for example somehow between 5.5%, 5.5%, now you can say your output is with precision. Why? Because it is just in between these two numbers. So dear students, you try to make sure how close your computed output or your result is with the reality. So you can say these two are actual, and this is what, this is the result. I hope you got it, dear students. Okay, once again, I'm just coming into precision and confidence. So refer to what? How close the research findings are to the reality. Confidence interval. Okay, how do you know about whether your research is close to the reality or not? About the confidence interval, inshallah, we will study this in next chapters, inshallah. Okay, if the confidence interval is showing that our research state 95% of the time that the results are true, right, and 5% of chances of being our result is not true. So it's mean if the confidence interval is 95%, so we say the result outcome is with a precision. It means it is precise, it is close to the reality. So if you demand the confidence interval of 95%, right, so it means we are with a precision. Okay, and 5% of chances being our result is not true. So it means we are just ignoring 5% chances, and just we try to make sure of 95% time of the correct result. Okay, next, dear students, we have objectivity. And what is objectivity? The conclusions of the research drawn should be objective. Okay, what we mean by objective? If you know, you have learned about objective analysis and subjective. Okay, when you try to explain or analyze something objectively, it means you try to say something as what that thing is, right? Like, for example, if you have conducted a research and you found something, right? You have done experiment and you have come with some result, some facts and figures, right? Then you should explain and you have to interpret exactly what you have found, right? So we say that is objective. The research is what? Objective. Okay, and if you enter something in the result and you have found, but you're just increasing and manipulating something out of your own opinion, right? It means there is no objectivity. For example, what is objective? They should be, right, means the research should be based on fact and finding, so within this example it will be clear. For example, the hypothesis. What we mean by hypothesis here, simply assumptions. Inshallah, I will explain this. Okay, you say employees satisfaction don't, for example, don't reduce the turnover. Okay, reduce the turnover. You say employee satisfaction reduce the turnover. You try to check what this result, you try to test this hypothesis, right? You conduct a research, but you have drawn conclusion or you have come up with result, and your research is telling that employee, what is the result? Your result is like this: employees satisfaction is, okay, just a minute, employee satisfaction is not reducing the turnover. Okay, you are just trying to test this hypothesis, right? This was a claim, right? This was a claim. Okay, but the findings stated that the employee satisfaction is not reducing the turnover. It means that is against the hypothesis. This hypothesis should be rejected. Why? Because the result of your study is showing something opposite. Okay, now in your interpretation you state that the employee satisfaction somehow reduces the turnover, it may reduce the turnover, for example. So okay, so where this interpretation is coming from, where the result is employee satisfaction is not reducing the turnover, but here you try to manipulate and you try to change it, right? And you just bring with another conclusion and say that the employee satisfaction somehow reduces the turnover while the result is something totally different. It means you are not stating and interpreting the result. Okay, so it means there is no objectivity. And objectivity is exactly whenever you try to interpret, right, what you have found, exactly the fact and the figures. You just try to explain it and you try not to manipulate and just not try to add something out of your own. So that is what we call subjective analysis. Okay, so I hope you got it, what we mean by objectivity. And the final one we have is called generalizability. Okay, so what is the generalizability of a research? And that is referring to how applicable the research findings are in one organization setting, right, to another. Okay, for example, if a researcher finding indicate that the employee satisfaction is positively correlated to the productivity, you found this, for example, what is that? If a researcher finding, the finding indicates what? That employee satisfaction is positively correlated to the productivity, right? You have learned out of your research, you found this, but this result can be applied to many other different organizations. It's mean now you try to know if in any other organizations or different settings, if the employee productivity is enhanced, right, or increased by increasing the satisfaction level of the employees. If you try to keep your employees satisfied and the productivity increase also along with, then you say your finding is applicable in your organization. But if the same is also applicable in another organization, there is some another production or manufacturing or service company, and also over there if the employees are happy, right, so their productivity level is also high, so we say the finding of your research is applicable, that is true, right, in different settings or in different organizations. So we say your research is having a feature of generalizability. Okay, if a research finding indicates that the employee satisfaction is positively correlated to the productivity, and this result can be applied to many other different organizations, or if the result hold true, right, in other settings, right, if the results, you can say results hold true in other settings, we can state that the research is generalizable. So dear students, I hope you have learned all about these features or the qualities of a good research, right? The first, the purposiveness, or research should be empirical, logical, cyclical, and there should be replicability, and the research should be with the precision and confidence. Okay, just simply I have told you precision means that your findings should be closer to the reality. And what is confidence? Confidence, I have stated here that in the research, inshallah, we will study that if the we have the confidence level, if it is at 95%, it means there we are confident that our research is 95% true, and we are just ignoring the chances being it is not true, and that is 5%. Okay, so dear students, I hope you got it. I wish you good luck. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.